Salutations, Legion of Doom. Welcome to Podcast The Storm, where social awkward outcasts, crazy weirdos, and all around nerds convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening, everyone.
And I am your host, /Time Lone Wannabe, the Brainstormer Pop Culture. How is everyone doing tonight?
I am okay, even though I went to bed far too late last night and slept in far too late.
Yep. That's actually the complete opposite for me, and that is actually really weird, because how it usually goes, I'm the one who can't sleep, and Dalton is the one who gets actually pretty good night's sleep, usually.
Thank God for sleeping pills.
Yeah. Actually, I got no pretense, so just go in. Okay, so actually pretense. So yeah, we're going to be covering a article that we haven't covered for 6 weeks now, effectively, I think. Month and a month.
We're going after our white whale again.
Yeah. Also, I feel like this has to be mentioned. Okay, so I'm not entirely sure, but we've actually come very close to the limit for StreamYard. So we might not be doing. I should probably told you this earlier. I forgot to. My bad. We might not do a stream next week. I'll keep.
When does the limit get renewed?
Every month.
Right, but when during the month?
When 1 month ends.
On the first, or?
Yeah, when a month starts.
Okay. Because sometimes it's a random date out of the.
Well, usually we never really go over, but this month has kind of been.
Yeah, we had the extra one, and it nerfed us.
Yeah, but so yeah, I'll keep everyone posted. I'll keep eyes on my Twitter at Storm01, and also check our Discord. I'll probably do updates there as well. But yeah, we might not do one next week. That's we're not entirely sure. Well, we'll keep posted on that.
We might just record one and then post it later.
I'll have to look into that. I don't think we can record unless I have to buy something.
Because we could just like record the audio and then upload it after as a video.
We'll talk about that anyway. So this is our Rewriting Ripley article. If you haven't seen, we have a playlist on our channel, 7 videos in total.
Yeah, and we just in the last one got halfway there. So
yeah.
There's a reason I referred to this as our white whale, because we've been picking away slowly at this giant boulder of wrong for months.
Right. And again, at 9 p.m., we are going to stop and move on to the other things, just because, like, I made a mission just to set it for 1 hour because like it's a lot of stupid, and
Yeah, well, 9:06 because it's 8:06 now. I'm starting.
I'm sending it at 9. I don't care at this point, man. It's just like,
Okay.
all right. Yeah. Okay. So shall we?
Yeah.
Right. I forgot. The title of this article is "In Plain Sight: How White Supremacy, Misogyny, and Hate Targeted the Star Wars Sequel Trilogy." And
Yeah, and in short, the answer is it didn't. This person concocted a dissertation-length conspiracy web chart like you see in bad conspiracy theory movies.
right. Shall we?
Yep.
Okay. The replication and continuation of Gamergate. Just in case you haven't put the pieces together by now, no, it's not a coincidence that the top affiliation for negative comments against The Last Jedi on Twitter leads you right back to gaming spaces on YouTube. And no, it's not a coincidence that people in gaming spaces who don't actively push alt-right agendas still spread racist, anti-Semitic, and misogynistic ideology. And finally, it is absolutely not a coincidence that out of 13 unique accounts classified as alt-right or radical right who appear in the algorithm after searching The Last Jedi, 53% also make videos on gaming.
Okay, first of all, once again, opposing these ideologies does not mean opposing the rights and interests of the people these ideologies claim, the keyword being claim, to speak on the behalf of. Okay? Just because someone is skeptical of BLM doesn't make them racist. Just because someone is skeptical of feminism doesn't make them against women's rights and interests. And just because someone is against the concept of social justice with a capital S and a capital J doesn't mean they're opposed to the concept of justice that applies socially. You absolute mental case. Just like back in the 90s when someone said, I am against family values with a capital F and a capital V, it didn't mean they wanted to destroy the nuclear family. It just meant there were some people who were euphemistically using the term family values for their specific ideology, and their specific ideology was being criticized. Well, just like now, if you're following the logic, people will euphemistically use the term social justice for a particular specific ideology with particular and specific premises. You can't do this seesaw thing where any criticism of the ideology is criticism of the thing the ideology is called, and therefore that's why no one can ever criticize it. And you certainly can't do the other implicit thing there of the only way to do good things is to follow this ideology. That's bullshit, you moron. And also, I would agree it's no coincidence that hatred of the Last Jedi leads you back to those places, because in both cases, the response was of some genuine nerds responding to the co-opting, inculcation, and infiltration of their geek spaces by moralistic ideologues. Just like in the 90s, if YouTube had existed, you would have seen a lot of videos criticizing Jack Thompson, because Jack Thompson was attempting to moralistically preen within the realms of gaming. And if a bunch of fundamentalist Christian quote-unquote gamers got into gaming and tried to make every game space compliant with the laws of the Lord or whatever the fuck, you would see just as much backlash by genuine gamers as you would, in this case, with social justice. Because your morality has no place in these game spaces, or these hobbies, or these interests, or whatever you want to call it. These ideologies actively get in the way of people's enjoyment and edification of these hobbies. And that is why people who are pissed off by gamer or by the events that led to Gamergate are also pissed off at Last Jedi because it's the same ideology that is causing the problem. It's not some sort of conspiratorial connection or some reactionary politics that is the problem here. The problem is the current moral zeitgeist du jour came into a space expecting to be catered to at every conceivable whim, and the people who actually enjoy these hobbies for their own sake went, hold on, your morality has no place here, please fuck off with it. And when they told those people to fuck off, they got the same treatment you just almost gave to those people, which is, you're just opposed to good thing, therefore you're a bad person. Derp. Moving on.
Yep. Alright. Gamers are a pretty significant segment of general American population, and by no means is the very online culture surrounding video games representative of all people who consider themselves gamers.
You would be surprised, sir, because gaming, much like a lot of other geeky subcultures, started with nerds, and normies showed up later when it became obvious, or rather, it stopped being feasible to shame those nerds because the nerds had a goddamn point. Doesn't mean the normie gamers aren't gamers. It just means that I think you're wrong to say that the online contingent of the gaming subculture isn't reflective of the broader one, because, like it or not, games are still nerdy, and no matter how many normie Johnny-come-latelys there might be, they're still just stragglers kind of bandwagoning on to something that was originally and still at its core is geeky. Moving forward.
Sorry, Thomas, guys, things real quick. Furthermore, online gaming communities are not a monolith. Communities around like the Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy franchises work very differently than communities surrounding the Call of Duty franchise, for example.
It's funny how everything in the world is not a monolith, except for the thing you call an enemy. Because I guarantee you, if I tried to explain any of the things I've already explained to you in real life, you would assume I was wrong because you've already determined what the motives for anti-social justice movements are. But if social justice and feminism and all those other ideologies aren't monoliths, then guess what? The people who oppose them aren't opposing them for universal monolithic reasons either, dumbass. Just like feminism isn't a monolith, anti-feminism and men's rights advocacy is also not a monolith. But I'm betting that if I tried to explain that to you in real life, your head would explode. Moving on.
But even though most people who consider themselves gamers don't actively spread hate, the events of Gamergate have given the online gaming space an undeniable toxic culture problem that has only gotten worse.
Undeniable, you say? Well, watch me as I insinuate to deny exactly that thing. Because Gamergate was not about hate. It was about holding people accountable for their actions and their motivations. Okay? Because some moralistic fuckwit feminist showed up and went, gaming must now be assimilated in the under the rubric of feminism. And some gamers went, I'm sorry, but that actively impedes the quality of the games that I want to enjoy, therefore can you please fuck off with it? Just like they did when it was Jack Thompson and the religious right of yesteryear doing it. You seem to be unaware of this thing we call consistency, sir. For you, for some reason, because the teams have changed and the cited reasons have changed, it's somehow different. it's a phenomena in philosophy we refer to as special pleading, i.e., when those people do this exact same behavior or this exact same rationale, it's bad because they're the wrong people. But when my people do it, it's a good thing because they're the right kind of people. Yet no, some people are capable of being consistent. Some people are capable of telling both Jack Thompson and Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian to fuck right off with their respective moralities. Because morality has no goddamn place in art and entertainment, if you please. And if there's going to be any moral discussion in these mediums, it should be discussed philosophically, not we already have the answer, so all other answers are inadmissible. Propagandistically, like you're trying to make it. That's the problem. Because the quality of the storytelling goes down when you try to create one-dimensional moral narratives. You moron. Moving on.
Alright, now it would be responsible of me to point out that videos about gaming are generally popular on YouTube and are one of their top content categories. I mean, yeah.
Obviously, yes. This has nothing to do with anything. Move on.
So to better illustrate how Gamergate has never really died, I took the titles of all videos from 20 Star Wars and or pop culture YouTubers who were 1, negative against Last Jedi, and 2, had the most viewed anti-Last Jedi videos, or 3, had the largest volume of videos for a certain topic associated with The Last Jedi, such as the search terms Ryan Johnson or Rose Tico.
Okay, Gamergate never really died because the phenomena to which Gamergate was responding never really died. I.e., it was created essentially when some feminist nepotism got in the way of game quality and storytelling, and was further exasperated by when people brought these criticisms to people's attention, they were invalidated with moral power words instead of actually listened to. And that phenomena is still going on and in fact has expanded to many other vectors of geek culture, such as comics and movies and TV shows. Therefore, movements similar to Gamergate have not just not gone away, but have proliferated because they're all responding to similar problems or similar vectors of the same problem. You moron. This would be incredibly obvious to you if you could just hold yourselves and your team to the same goddamn standard you hold everyone you don't like to. Or better yet, just hold everyone to a universal standard that makes fucking sense, preferably. Moving forward.
All accounts are associated with alt-right YouTube networks, spread alt-right ideology, and or have videos defending people in alt-right spaces. Following word cloud shows the top most used words seen at least 130 times across 20,366 YouTube titles.
We've been over this about a dozen times, but just to be clear, in case this is the first video of this response you're watching, this person does not know what the term alt-right means. Alt-right means soft-core white nationalism, effectively. Or I guess you could call it suburban white nationalism if you wanted to be cheeky, because that's basically what all genuine alt-righters are. Speaking of genuine alt-righters, there are only like 4 of them on the goddamn planet. Like, there are only 4 major alt-right figures in like the YouTube scene, which is where the alt-right was essentially born out of. One of them is Richard Spencer, and he is a joke. He is a cartoonish, over-the-top supervillain of an idiot, so stupid and incompetent that Dr. Drac and Dr. Doofenshmirtz and Dr. Evil would laugh at in his face. One of them that I'm aware of is John Francois Gary P. I can't remember the other 2 that I was going to cite, but irrespective of that, there's only like 4 genuinely alt-right people on like YouTube with any substantive influence. Okay? The alt-right is a collapsed, hilarious joke, and the only reason why it gets any clout or response at all is because you people, the people on your side of the argument, sir, keep assuming that everyone who opposes you for alt-right reasons, rather than actually listening to the arguments people actually make against you. Because you want to be the unimpeachable heroes, and so you need your opposition to be cartoonishly incompetent, stupid villains. When in actuality, the people who get more angry at the alt-right than even you do are people like us, because people keep calling us alt-right when in fact we have nothing in common with them. Not a thing. No point. And if you want to dispute me on that, if you want to insinuate that I do have some kind of alt-right leanings, I'll laugh at you, first of all. But I am gay, crippled, and an occultist, and Brainstormer is an inner-city Hispanic. So how exactly are we espousing some kind of white supremacy of any kind?
I mean,
I'll wait.
You are white, so.
I know you're joking, but still, fuck you. But yeah, in all honesty, if it weren't for social justice morons and like I said, the maybe 4 genuinely alt-right people that I'm vaguely aware of, I wouldn't even like think about my race ever. And I still don't consider race to be an important factor, certainly nothing you would shape policy of any kind around. So yeah, no. And in case any of this is still in doubt, I will say this as loudly as I have to. Richard Spencer is a cartoonish supervillain dickhead who can fuck right off. And he is one of the lamest human beings I have ever become aware of in any media whatsoever. And yet, he still gets called up by CNN because, again, it seems very much like he is the villain you would rather be fighting instead of the villain that actually exists for you, which is people like us. Because if you actually addressed people like us, you'd find that our arguments have nothing to do with race whatsoever, and actually hold up to logical scrutiny instead of being incoherent babble that some polo shirt wearing frat boy dickhead got in his head for no reason. Again, referring to Richard Spencer.
Oh, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Okay. In the titles of these videos, top words include words associated with gaming spaces such as gamers, games, and Twitch. More importantly, top used words consist of phrases and buzzwords associated with Gamergate and alt-right ideology, including woke, media, Comicsgate, and SJW. SJW stands for Social Justice Warrior, a phrase made common in alt-right and reactionary communities by Yiannopoulos during Gamergate. A social justice warrior is a catch-all term for any person who advocates for diversity in media.
No, you again. You're doing that. You're doing this thing. I'm glad I brought this up earlier because if I hadn't, this would make no sense. But the thing is, once again, if you genuinely believe that to advocate for social justice, you must believe in the ideology of social justice, then you must further believe that anyone in favor of the nuclear family in any meaningful way must be in favor of capital F, capital V family values. I do not believe either of these suppositions. Just because you oppose a particular ideology that calls itself something does not mean you oppose the thing. It doesn't mean you oppose the actual substance of the euphemism that the thing is being called. Just like if I was born a couple decades earlier and I found myself in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s or whatever, and I came across a family values warrior, if you like, I would say your ideology makes no coherent sense and has nothing to do with your euphemism. Please fuck off with it. And the family values moron would probably say something to me like, you want all of our children to be turned gay or some shit because you oppose the notion of family values. And I would respond, no, I oppose the thing you euphemistically refer to as family values in order to shield your ideology from criticism. And just like that, modern day social justice warriors use the term social justice as a euphemism to shield their ideology from criticism, number one, and to conflate any advocacy for justice that happens to be social with their ideology. It's like saying, not only are we going to use this word to shield ourselves from criticism, but also we're going to refer to any good thing we can get our hands on as this thing so that you can't imagine a way to do advocacy for justice that is social without using our ideology. It's a fundamental conflation, and therein lies the problem. Nobody has a problem with diversity and inclusion. What we have a problem with, sir, is the mechanisms, motives, and ideologies you use to get it. The corpus of your ideas, the actual substance of the ideas you are spouting. Things like the oppressor and oppressed dynamic, bastardizations of history, um, the faulty data mining of academic papers that constantly gets made in this day and age. These are the things we're opposing. The co-opting of art and culture for the sake of moralistic pandering. These are all things about social justice, the ideology, the capital S, capital J social justice that we oppose. Just like I have no problem with nuclear families existing, but if you start saying family values means opposing everyone who's gay, ever having a family or ever having adoptive or surrogate children, then I will tell you to fuck off. Because those two things don't go together. No matter how much you want to conflate them, there's extra material in your conception of this term than there is in a universal application of this term. Justice that is social has nothing to do with social justice, and no matter how much you want to conflate it, there's extra material getting in your way here. And it's the extra material that you append to this term that everyone has a problem with. The wage gap, the patriarchy, the oppressor and oppressed dynamic, the co-opting of culture. These are what people have problems with. Moron. And incidentally, once again, the alt-right did not come up with the term social justice warrior. In fact, the alt-right was effectively quite late to the party. It was initially people like Sargon Akkad, who was a classical liberal, that started the opposition to social justice and tied into things like Gamergate. And then people like Richard Spencer came along after the fact and tried to essentially play a wolf in sheep's clothing. He espoused the advocacy against social justice and then essentially flipped the script when he thought his ethnic group would be in charge. That's why I really, really, really fucking hate the alt-right. Because when anti-social justice movement started, the idea was, let's not focus on race, period. Idiots like Richard Spencer and John Francois Gary P got into that and used that rhetoric They used the rhetoric of let's not focus on race, period. But when the opportunity was given to them, they started playing victim for the white race instead of being universalist and colorblind. And that's also why a lot of people like Sargon have issues with the alt-right, because he initially wanted no one to focus on race at all, and all the alt-right does is take every narrative of social justice and flip it. And I don't like those narratives, no matter who is using them. I don't believe white people are oppressed. I don't believe black people are oppressed because of their race. I think if human beings are oppressed, there's usually a non-racial, non-demographic reason for doing so. And if there are genuine demographics that are disadvantaged, it's not because of their demographic. It's because some other idiot thinks things about their demographic that don't hold true and are logically incoherent. Moving on.
Also appearing in the word cloud is the word Ghostbusters, the 2016 all-female reboot of the 1984 film of the same name. Okay, one, it's not because it's all-female team. It's because it's fucking shit as a movie.
Yes, and again, we must draw a distinction here between female characters, like Ellen Ripley, Sarah Connor, Karen Murphy from the Dresden Files, and on we go.
Wait. Also, the two great female characters in the original Ghostbusters series.
Yes, Janine.
And
Dana.
Dana.
Yeah, Dana Barrett.
Wasn't she played by
Sigourney Weaver, yes.
Yeah. Great actor.
Yeah. But point being, there is a distinct difference between characters who are female, or characters who happen to be female, and characters who are avatars for the ideology of feminism. And that is one of the reasons people hated Ghostbusters 2016, was because there wasn't a single female character there. They were all feminist avatar characters with no discernible personality outside of being feminist avatar characters, other than just being badly comedic and annoying because it was written terribly. Probably because they were focused more on let's make a feminist movie than they were on let's make a good movie. When you put morality or external ideology ahead of the quality of your storytelling, you will inevitably fuck it up. Because if you put merit, if you put making a good product or a good story or a good piece of art lower on your priorities than anything, then obviously whatever you put above that in your priorities will take precedence. And the merit, if there is any, will be mostly secondary. And therein lies the problem. Just like when back in the day, in the 1950s and 60s and so on, they forced Christian messages and motifs and motives into art, and it made the product overall worse. So too, when you force feminism and social justice into a movie ahead of the quality of the storytelling and the quality of the product, you'll get a worse product because you're not interested in making a good movie, or at the very least, you're less interested in it than making a morally upstanding movie. I'm not interested in morally upstanding movies. I'm interested in movies that are decent, if you please. Moving on.
The film was targeted by members of the alt-right, including Yiannopoulos, in yet another attempt to push anti-feminist sentiment into mainstream culture. The alt-right hate towards Ghostbusters infamously targeted Leslie Jones with racist harassment on Twitter and leaked nude images from the Ghostbusters star's hacked iCloud account. The harassment eventually led to Yiannopoulos' permanent ban from the social media site. Okay, I didn't know about that last thing, but I don't think it was racist. Most of it, I assume, wasn't racist and harassment.
Yeah, no, it was just criticizing her and making fun of her. But once again, you don't know what the term alt-right means. And once again, Milo Yiannopoulos is a gay Jew. So how exactly is he alt-right? And to be fair, I have heard recently that Milo is trying to undergo gay conversion therapy and electroshock therapy to de-gay himself.
What the fuck?
He's just an edgelord, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's some fucking edge right there. Not in a good way.
Yeah, no, I don't want to say anything bad about Milo, because if he truly feels that being gay is wrong and he wants to fix it, then I guess all the more power to him. But
nah, just like it's extreme is the thing.
yeah, and also it's really, really, really disingenuous. Not to mention the fact that about 5 years ago, he was one of the most openly gay people in the world. Like he literally referred to himself as the most dangerous word that I probably could get away with, but I think would probably get us banned. Um, a word that in Britain means bundle of sticks. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, he referred to himself as that. He referred to himself as the most dangerous F word for gay people. And yet now all of a sudden he's come to some kind of epiphany because he realized he was gay when he was a kid or when he was a teenager, and some priest had his way with him. So now he associates being gay with pedophilia, even though the entire previous couple of years of his life probably should point out that those two things aren't related, like at all, any more than any other sexuality is related to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, at least at the time that this happened, Milo was a gay Jew. So what are you playing at?
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Other keywords that include the word Trump or anti The Last Jedi. YouTubers criticize anti-Trump media or actors, including Marvel actor Don Cheadle, Star Wars actress Daisy Ridley, and Leslie Jones. I think mainly because what they were saying didn't mean in the shit they were involved in.
Yeah, it made no freaking sense, and also made it very obvious that they weren't focusing on their jobs. And as it happened, all of the things they were in were relatively shite. Since they were shite, people pointed out, maybe if you focused a little bit less on virtue signaling on Twitter, you'd be in better things, or at least make the things you were in better. Was mostly the thinking behind that, I think. Moving on.
Sorry, I need to stretch my legs real quick.
No problem.
Okay. Keyword white is also a top word used in these videos titles. The videos containing the word mostly express outrage at the media that is racist towards white men. The videos invoke ideology and rhetoric from white nationalist groups, including, specifically that mainstream liberal media has an agenda to push white men from society in place of non-white people. I mean, there's no evidence to the contrary. I mean, all evidence to the contrary.
Right. The the thing is, and I do see this in a lot of people's video titles and stuff, so I'm not going to dispute that happens. But what I am going to say is the people that hyper focus on the whiteness are usually provocateur idiots, and they're not espousing some kind of white nationalism. They're simply pointing out that within the moral framework of social justice, white people are considered privileged and in need of being taken down a peg. So if you believe in an ideology and large swathes of Hollywood and corporate culture do believe in the social justice ideology, then you give people who are not white or male preferential treatment over those that are white and male. And if you give one group preferential treatment over the other, then you are de facto discriminating against that other group. Doesn't mean that white people are oppressed. It means that they're noticing a bias against white males, or at least people who they think are white males, in favor of other demographics. Quite frankly, my position has been and probably always will be just ignore the demographics altogether. They're really, really, really not that important. But as it happens, if we're going to play the game of who is closer to the Nazi ideology, then allow me to just throw this out there. What did Nazi rhetoric call Jews? Before the scum and the vipers and all of that, the original supposition of the Nazi rhetoric was Jews run the banks and therefore they are privileged. Because that is how you foment a genocide. You convince one group of people that another group of people has privileges over them and needs to be brought down a peg. And eventually, that premise escalates to we need to eliminate them altogether, or else they will always have privilege over us. Because human beings have a natural psychological obsession with fairness that we inherit all the way down the evolutionary line to capuchin monkeys. And I've given this example about a dozen times, so I'll keep it short. But if you give one capuchin monkey a grape for completing a task, and you give another capuchin monkey a food biscuit for doing the same task, and the second monkey finds out about the first monkey, he will literally go apeshit because that's not fair. And apparently, monkeys regard grapes as better than food biscuits. Which makes sense, but just throwing that out there. And as such, in order to convince normal, good people to become dehumanizing and genocidal towards another group of people, you have to convince them that they have unearned privilege over the first group of people, which is exactly the rhetoric that social justice does use on what they refer to as majority groups. In fact, in one case, a group of research scientists decided to take passages from Hitler's Mein Kampf and switch them out, to switch the racial and gender signifiers out with social justice buzzwords. So you change white to POC, you change Jew to male, and they almost managed to get those research papers, quote unquote, published in reputable journals of social justice. So, in other words, if you change out the MacGuffins, the specific races and genders and demographics for the social justice version, the ideology becomes not only indistinguishable, but actually gets lauded in an official context. So who is closer to white nationalist rhetoric again? Is it the people who are noticing, hey, you're discriminating against white people and in favor of minority quote-unquote statuses? Or the people who are literally using the rhetoric of privilege against the people they want to see taken down a peg? I would argue it's the second one. Moving on.
Right. Okay. Female is also a top word used in these YouTube titles. These videos spread anti-feminist ideology similar to hate spread against Sarkeesian and Quinn during Gamergate. Videos express outrage over Hollywood hiring women to direct major blockbuster films and female characters given more prominent roles in pop culture,
No,
including Marvel and Star Wars.
it's not the femaleness, it's the feminism. And feminism is not synonymous with women's rights, and therefore anti-feminism is not synonymous with misogyny. In fact, there are anti-feminist women who hate feminism because it actively harms both themselves and other women. Because they don't actually successfully advocate for the things they claim to be their goals, which is most of people's problem with feminism. Everyone on earth, effectively, is in favor of women's rights and interests. The only people who are not in favor of those things are sociopaths or other people with damaged brains. But the ways and the corpus of ideas that feminism uses to allegedly attain that equality, that women's rights, that women's interests, are counterproductive at best and actively obstructive at worst to their end goal. No one has a problem with feminism's stated end goals. They have a problem with how feminism chooses to get there, with things like the wage gap and patriarchy theory. One of which is a case of lying with statistics, and the other is a non-falsifiable conspiracy theory based on a conception of history that is FUBAR. You moron. And Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn were not victimized for being women. They were criticized for forcing feminist ideology into spaces where that ideology was not welcome and was actively counterproductive to the quality of the art in question. Moving on.
Yep. Okay. YouTuber Neurotic even suggests that Thor: Love and Thunder director Taika Waititi wants to destroy Marvel mythos by including a female Thor, a all-too common narrative across alt-right spaces that suggests that women and minorities are destroying culture. Okay, for one thing, I don't agree with Neurotic on that. Look, as much as I give shit to Taika Waititi about Thor Ragnarok, the dude's actually a really good director.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
And secondly, you just proved my point. Because your first example of someone getting shit for pushing feminism into media was an example of a man doing it. If you wanted to make this argument, why don't you try looking for, say, Patty Jenkins getting shit for Wonder Woman? Except you won't find any because everyone loved the first Wonder Woman.
Can't say about the second one, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, but that was because it was less good than the first one, and most people are aware of that. But my point being, if we hated women just for being women, then you would assume someone somewhere would bitch about Patty Jenkins. But you will find no one anywhere. Except for maybe with regards to the second one, but that was, again, mostly due to the lack of quality in the second one, for the most part. And as for Neurotic, you've just strawmanned him a little bit, because the arguments that I see, and I am subscribed to his channel, and I also knew him before he hit it big, as did a lot of people in our subculture. Granted, he doesn't fucking know or care about me, I think, these days. But that being said, the thing that people object to about female Thor is, number one, the character was conceived to pander to feminism, and number two, the thing that bothers a lot of people about female Thor is she's aggrandized at the expense of her predecessor. It would be one thing if Jane was able to lift the hammer and Thor was training her to become the next incarnation of Thor or whatever, or the next wielder of the hammer. But instead of that, we got a Thor who was thoroughly disgraced and shat upon retroactively, and a female Thor who, despite being inexperienced, could still do no wrong for some reason. That's largely what people object to. It's, let's not undermine the self-worth and the worth relative to the audience of Thor as a character. Let's just make a new character who he can pass the torch to. And quite frankly, I expect Taika Waititi will manage to do that, because however much he might be a little bit into the social justice paint, he is still a very good director with a very down-to-earth sensibility about these things. So I expect that Thor Love and Thunder will still be good, and I even expect that most of the focus won't be on Lady Thor. It will be on Gore the God Butcher, because Gore the God Butcher is going to be in it, and we already have it confirmed that other pantheons of gods will be in it. Hopefully that will set up for something down the line, or pick up off of something they do in Doctor Strange 2, but that's a completely different conversation. Moving on.
Anti-feminist ire is also directed towards the star of Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, who became a target of the alt-right when she spoke out against the lack of diversity in the film industry.
She didn't become a target of the alt-right. The alt-right is a tiny, collapsed, irrelevant movement that is mostly a joke to all people involved. But she made herself a target because she was directly and purposefully confrontational in almost every interview she gave on this matter. And she forced feminist leanings and feminist ideology into the script of Captain Marvel, because Marvel, usually to their benefit, I'm not going to lie, usually take their stars' input into account when they design characters. Because Brie Larson is an obsessively humorous feminist, Captain Marvel became an obsessively humorous feminist character. And that is what people objected to. And most of the contempt directed at her was a response to the contempt she directed at these fan subcultures. If you purposely shit all over people, you shouldn't be surprised when some of the people you purposely shit on get shitty with you in return. And her level of snarky, dismissive, belittling entitlement was something that you could only measure with a fucking Richter scale. So, there. Moving on.
Furthermore, a considerable amount of hate is focused on Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, who the alt-right blames for making Star Wars too focused on diversity, inclusion, and feminism.
The alt-right does not dislike her for any... Actually, I don't fucking know what the alt-right thinks, because the alt-right is a tiny, irrelevant joke of a thing. But the people we were referring to are not the alt-right. The people we were referring to are simply people who are opposed to social justice. Some of which is conservative, I will grant you. But some of which, are centrist or left-wing. you can still be left-wing and be opposed to social justice, because feminism and social justice are particular ideologies that people willfully choose to adopt, and I don't, despite being in favor of things like Medicare for all, a living wage, and arguably something equivalent to Andrew Yang's freedom dividend at some point, or just in general, the U.S. and the Anglosphere in general following the lead of sort of the Nordic countries or the Nordic model. That's my leftist credentials out of the way there for you. But yeah, you can be left wing and still oppose social justice. You can be centrist and still oppose social justice, and you can be simply a right winger and oppose social justice. You don't have to be alt-right to oppose social justice. But again, it very much seems like the alt-right is the enemy you wish you were fighting, and so you're just projecting the qualities of the alt-right onto the people you're actually trying to fight. And it's not working because you don't know who your actual enemies are. Because if you knew who your actual enemies are, you might actually be able to address their arguments. But you can't address their arguments because your own arguments are FUBAR. And most of their arguments stand up to some kind of scrutiny. Moving on.
Yep. Okay. In fact, 73% of top YouTubers, by count, the number of videos they have made mentioning Kathleen Kennedy, are from alt-right associated accounts, including 40 videos made about Kennedy alone by alt-right YouTuber Geeks and Gamers. I don't think.
Once again, the channel Geeks and Gamers has nothing to do with the alt-right. Jeremy, the main dude from Geeks and Gamers, I believe, is conservative, and he is a bit of a snarky loudmouth, and I don't particularly like him. But there's a difference between not liking somebody for rational reasons and just straight up slandering someone, and calling him alt-right would be slander. He has no racial opinions whatsoever that I'm aware of.
I'm gonna be
And
honest, the guy talks a lot. That's kind of my gripe with him.
And the only time he does bring up whiteness is not to espouse some sort of ethno state or to say white people are oppressed. It's to say, why the fuck are people prioritizing quote unquote diversity over good quality storytelling and constantly subverting and replacing characters with long pre-established histories for the sake of ideological pandering? He'd probably phrase it differently, but that's essentially what his opinions on the matter boil down to, at least as far as I can stomach him to find out. But yeah, Geeks and Gamers is not alt-right. Most of them just tend slightly conservative and more significantly libertarian, actually. That's the other thing. You've completely excised the idea of libertarianism from your conception of the right wing. Like, most people on the right in this day and age are not even conservative anymore. Most of them are just libertarians or ANCAPs. Of course, this you would know if you bothered to do 5 seconds of research. Moving on. Hello? Brainstormer appears to have left again.
Yep. Sorry, I had to talk to someone real quick. Okay, so
No problem.
we'll finish this part off and then we'll move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a paragraph left. What these YouTube videos definitively show is that Gamergate's playbook is very much alive and has been made accessible to anybody with a webcam. This not only increases visibility of harmful attacks against women and people of color, but also creates a way for people to profit from hate.
It's not an attack on women or people of color. It's an attack on feminism and arguably Black Lives Matter. But Gamergate isn't a playbook. It's, once again, an organically generated response to some moralistic twits coming into a space where their morality is not being enforced, insisting that it be enforced, and the people who were already germane to that hobby being like, your morality is actively obstructing my enjoyment of this thing, please fuck off with it. And the more parts of culture, especially popular culture, that feminism, intersectionality, and social justice attempt to adopt, the more movements like that you're going to see. And the more crossover between those movements you're going to see, because most nerds are nerdy in multiple ways at once. So if you come for my comics, I will probably consider myself Comicsgate. If you come for my games, I will consider myself Gamergate, and so on. And as someone who was vaguely participatory in Gamergate back in the day and was much more heavily interested in more heavily invested in the original Comicsgate, yeah, that is mostly the rationale. Stop coming for my culture and I'll leave you the fuck alone. If you insist on insinuating yourself in my culture, then have at you. Moving on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. It's loaded. Everything. Okay. So we're gonna cover two articles for this topic because done some of these and they were very much, I guess, in the same ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's from AV.com. It's published, written by Sam Barsanti. It's published August 15th, 2021. Simi Liu doesn't appreciate Disney boss Bob Chapek, calling Shang-Chi an interesting experiment. Um, Also, subheader is Shang-Chi is being released in theaters, but it will move to Disney Plus after only 45 days. Okay.
I really worry about Simu Liu. Although unlike Brie Larson, he doesn't come off to me as a snarky, dismissive a-hole. He just comes off to me as somebody who was inculcated in these ideologies and now is like genuinely fearful of them. Like he genuinely believes all the shit he was told about social justice ideology, and he's acting accordingly. Which I will give him. I will give him credit. At least he's acting according to his beliefs. But whoever it was that insisted on him learning the social justice nonsense, you have scarred this man for life, and I hope you get what you deserve as a result of that.
Mm-hmm. On a recent earnings call with investors, Disney boss Bob uh, Chapek, said
Cheapik,
that what
cheapik.
Chapek said that the company's release strategy for Marvel movie Shang-Chi and Legend of Ten Rings will be an interesting experiment since rather than going just to theaters, just Disney Plus or the combination Disney Plus Premier Access thing where it debuts in both places at the same time, like with Black Widow, the company is going to keep it exclusive to theaters for just 45 days before moving it over to Disney Plus, which is a quick turnaround compared to the pre-pandemic days.
I'm just glad I won't have to pay extra for it in order to see it.
Honestly, I don't know. Probably just go see it in theaters, mainly because I like going to theaters.
Yeah, it's been ages since I've actually been to a theater. I miss it. Mostly miss the movie theater style popcorn because movie theater style popcorn is the bomb.
Oh yeah. What's funny is like I often feel very sick after I've eaten it, like after the movie and stuff.
I always get an extra large bucket of popcorn just so I have extra to take home.
Oh, I never did that. I just dumped it. Granted, I ate most of it by the time the movie ends, so.
Oh.
I love putting like extra butter on it too. It's like
Yes. That is the correct way to do it. Yeah. Movie theater popcorn with extra butter is the best thing.
Okay, the worst part is, and sorry, we're in a tangent, but it just comes up naturally. Mm-hmm. The worst part is, and like no disrespect, but my uncle and I, we all go see movies together. Mm-hmm. He likes caramel corn, right?
Uh-huh.
And we only get like we were like we're like members of the theater. We go to like premier members, I suppose. And we have like those like year-long buckets. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, when we go, usually like this was a while back. When we get the bucket, and they put a divider, and have the caramel corn on one side, and regular popcorn on the other, and then take the divider out, and it mixes together. Here's the thing: I don't like caramel corn.
I don't mind it, but it certainly shouldn't be in movies. Like, there's something blasphemous about ruining the holy sacrament that is movie theater popcorn.
Yeah, I had a lot of weird flavor popcorns I remember years ago.
I usually don't like flavored popcorns all that much. I mean, I can enjoy them, but like nothing beats the good old movie theater popcorn extra butter. That's my jam.
The only one the only one like I'm okay with really is like the cheesy popcorn.
I don't like it quite as much. I don't hate it like I used to. Like I used to really hate it when I was a kid. But
I mean, I haven't eaten that in years. But like, I prefer regular when like you go to a theater just because like that's kind of the thing, you know.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of like a sacrament. But my opinions on cheese popcorn changed significantly when in the mall that was close to my college, there was this store that was literally made specialty kinds of popcorn. And it was all like movie theater quality. I had cheese popcorn from them once, and they actually melted actual sharp cheddar onto it. Oh my god, it was.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah, non sequitur about popcorn flavor over, but.
Right. Yeah. So far, I'm not really seeing a problem. Like.
He heard about the interesting experiment line, and he thought he was referring. Seemingly, you thought that Chipik was referring to having an Asian lead. Was an interesting experiment because again, seemingly his brain appears to have been stolen by social justice.
Mulan, like that original Mulan movie.
Well, yeah, and the remake, because I mean, if having an Asian lead was really that surprising, then explain to me why Mulan has been made twice. Not to mention things like Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior, or basically any movie in the like martial arts genre.
Right. Okay. Chapek's reasoning was basically that this is just another way to test how consumers want to consume movies, since people who want to see the movie ASAP must pay to do so in a theater, but people who don't want to can wait a slightly shorter amount of time and see it on streaming. That will presumably supply Disney with a lot of helpful data that will inform how it chooses to release content in the future.
Yeah. My only complaint with this is how money focused Bob Chapek is. Like, he doesn't give a damn at all about the creative aspect of it, which bothers me. And I only say that because I know from Englentine, who actually lives around Orlando, that when Bob Chapek took over as the president of Disney, the parks basically fell into disrepair because he was too cheap to do standard repairs. So it seems to me that Bob Chapek's name isn't an accident, and that he is like almost Mr. Krabs levels of cheap, and that bothers me. Moving on.
Um, uh, da, 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 da. The thing is, Shang-Chi is a movie made by humans, and humans tend to have emotions and they tend to care about the things they put their hearts into. So they don't necessarily appreciate the fact that something they worked hard on is just an interesting experiment for the studio. Not to mention the fact that it's Marvel Studios' first movie led by Asian actors, which makes any sort of we're just trying this out statement all that much more gross. Yeah, but okay, Dom, before you do, because I'm sure you have something to say, obviously.
Go on.
Chipik was not talking about the Asian thing, mainly because I think he cares too much about money to really see race or anything.
Yeah, he wasn't even talking about the creative aspect of it, which honestly, if he referred to Shang-Chi as an interesting experiment because it was weird or because it was outside of Marvel's usual box, I would actually kind of be on his side then. But in both cases, I think both parties in this argument are morons. Simu Liu, because he interprets it as race or as like your movie is unimportant. And Bob Chapek because he's not interested at all in the creative side of things.
Oh, Muna?
Yep.
Alright, the Shang-Chi star Simu Liu is vocally objecting to that statement from Chipik on social media, saying, "We are not an experiment. We are the underdog, the underestimated. We are the ceiling breakers. We are the celebration of culture and joy that will persevere after an embattled year. We are the surprise." Okay, whatever. Like, that's a bit much.
So much woo. I'm not saying woo as in like Asian woo. I'm saying I refer to anything that's like overly charged or abstract as woo, regardless. And you can watch other episodes of this show for confirmation if you don't believe me. But yeah, Simu Liu, you need some kind of social justice rehab or something. That ideology is far too much living in your head. So the underdog thing I don't really mind. It's just in the context of like it again, if he was saying this about creative thing like actual creative decisions that were germane to the movie, like because believe me, I am the biggest advocate in the world of comic book movies embracing the weirdest, most cosmic, most abstract parts of themselves as they can. Um, and again, you can look at this channel and every other appearance I've ever made online for confirmation if you don't believe me. But this isn't about creativity for him. For Simu Liu, it appears to be about some kind of moral indignation or moral outrage. And once again, we find a situation where both have this debate are morons. You've got Bob Chapek focusing so heavily on the financial aspect that he could give a rat's ass about the creative one. And then you've got Simu Liu, who glazed right past the creative side of things and moved right into the moral and identitarian aspects of it. Yet you're both wrong and you're both morons. Moving on.
Okay, Liu also added that he's fired the fuck up to make history when Shang-Chi comes out on September 3rd, though not as dramatic as Scarlett Johansson's decision to sue Disney over Black Widow profits. It's yet another example of Marvel Studios star calling out the company. If nothing else, that seems like an encouraging sign that people aren't just going to let Disney march over the entire human race in its quest for world domination.
I just no. Like, Simu, my friend, you're not going to make history, dude. Asians have been represented in Hollywood for a very, very long time, and hand-to-hand combat and martial arts is quite common in these sorts of movies. So you're not going to make history. I'm sorry. Even in terms of like Asian representation, a movie called Crazy Rich Asians that came out a couple years ago, it's got you beat. Sorry, dude.
You know what's funny? I totally think Henry Golding, who played Snake Eyes in the new Snake Eyes movie,
Mm-hmm.
could totally be Shang-Chi more than like again like it's nothing against the actual actor or anything. It's just more I don't see the character of Shang-Chi. No, okay, not that because I'm not very knowledgeable of Shang-Chi. I have to do more research, but he just doesn't have the action hero look to him.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's nothing against Simu Liu. Like he's actually a good actor. I've seen him on on a show called Kim's Convenience.
Mm.
I like maybe if I watch Shang-Chi and he'll surprise me. I don't know. I just again like that's my personal preference. I just don't think he has the look of a heroic character. To be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next one is loaded. Shang-Chi faces boycott from Marvel fans. This is from GiantFreakingRobot.com, written by Apeksha Bagchi.
Mm. Think it's interesting. Think it's interesting that when some groups of fans boycott things, they're just called fans. They're still considered valid in some way. But when people like us do it for character reasons or for not liking pandering reasons or for ideological reasons, we get called things like toxic fans or the fans get put in air quotes. But yeah, that never seems to happen to anyone else. It's only ever you actually care about the characters of the world more than you care about the external woo. You're not a real fan. Derp. Moving on.
Shang-Chi fans are not happy right now, even as theaters opened and other major studios to films went for exclusive theatrical debuts. Disney stuck to releasing its last few releases, Black Widow, Jungle Cruise, Cruella, etc., both on its streamer and in the theaters. But now that the number of COVID-positive cases added by the far more dangerous Delta variant is once again increasing, Disney has not given the slightest inclination towards changing its plan to release its upcoming film exclusively in theaters, especially Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. As expected, moviegoers, particularly die-hard Marvel fans, are not at all happy.
So when a group of fans gets indignant about the pandemic, they're still called fans. But when people like us do it for character reasons or world building reasons, for simply not liking moralistic pandering reasons, we get labeled as toxic. Interesting. Moving on.
Well, I'm sure this from this tweet they're showing. Well, I sure as heck is not going to the theater with Delta COVID. Not that I could go anywhere since all the local theaters went out of business this past year. Fortunately, I'm not concerned with Shang-Chi spoilers and can just wait an extra month and a half to see it. I haven't heard anything about this shit, to be honest.
Yeah, this appears to be a controversy that the writer wishes was happening.
Third string star. I bet into opening night of almost every Marvel Studios movie, but this rate with COVID, I'm going to have to pass on Shang-Chi. I don't want to. I want to support more diversity in Marvel, but I can't risk it. Very disappointed in Disney for not making it premiere access. Kevin, I learned that Disney have decided not to release Shang-Chi on Disney Plus with premiere access. Congrats, you get $0 from me. I'll watch it when it drops on Disney Plus for free. Not going to theaters until the pandemic over. Isn't it? Isn't it over though? Like I've been to places in my city and like it honestly seems.
The Delta variant, derp.
I haven't heard shit about this. Like, is it an actual thing or not? Or
there was a new strain of COVID, and people are freaking out because slightly more people are getting sick with it. They're not dying. It's not more fatal than the previous version, but they're getting sick with it.
Okay, I want to mention one thing. People die all the time. I'm not trying to devalue all the people that died, obviously, because of COVID. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, like, there are, like, an infinite amount of ways people die every year.
Yeah.
And
have you ever seen the show 1,000 Ways to Die?
Granted, most of those people either deserve or are real fucking idiots.
Yeah. Yeah, it's suicide by Darwin Award, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, again, like I walked around my city like on Friday without a mask and had no trouble with that. Hot as hell though.
Yeah, it has been warm the last few days.
Went into a place, went to a restaurant, sat down. Again, no mask. I got no problem there or not. I was just.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing about the Delta variant. Even though it's supposedly this new strain, not everyone is locking down. Only certain areas are locking down.
Okay, that makes sense because how it's phrased here, it does seem a little. Seems like they were overplaying it, seemingly.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, moving on.
Yep.
Despite the fact that releasing films like Mulan and Raya the Last Dragon simultaneously in theaters and on Disney Plus harm their earning potential, Cruella, Black Widow, and Jungle Cruise still follow the pattern, but not anyone. Comic Book has reported that Disney CEO Bob Chapek has confirmed during a third quarter financial results conference call that two films, the recently released Ryan Reynolds star Free Guy and Marvel's upcoming Shang-Chi, will open in theaters exclusively for a period of 45 days, after which the latter will be available on Disney Plus.
But not Free Guy. That's a little bit annoying. I don't want to see that. I mean, I'll probably just pirate it somewhere, but It'd be more convenient if I could just watch it on Disney Plus now that I have that.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Okay. While he explained that Disney is all about flexibility and changing their decisions based on the vibe in the marketplace, Chapek added that theatrical activity is very important for a film to recover the money invested in its making and promotion. When the decision to make Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Rings release theater exclusive was taken, it was to ensure that the film opened in a much more healthy theatrical environment, as at the time they had no idea that the world would once again find itself swamped with a resurgence of COVID, and with Shang-Chi release date, i.e. September 3rd, being too close, processing last-minute changes is difficult now.
The Delta variant really isn't that big a deal, guys. Let's just move on already.
Given the gist of his statement, it is obvious that Disney has no plans of debuting Shang-Chi on Disney Plus on the same day as it's released. What they are more focused on is how the film's 45-day exclusive theatrical window is an interesting experiment, as it will allow them to reduce whether releasing a Disney film, especially a Marvel title, on the streamer after it being viewed is more profitable or not. I mean, yeah, that is interesting because again, it's modern day, and you can't really rely on movie theaters these days due to like modern changes and sensibilities.
Yeah.
It's called adapting with the times. I'm surprised no one's fucking got that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
But as Marvel fans are already making the decision to boycott Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings once it releases next month, the plan appears to be majorly flawed. While many of them are those who prefer to catch the first day, first show of a Marvel film and have been pretty excited about the Marvel Cinematic Universe continuing its streak of embracing diversity, they are not willing to risk the avoidable exposure to the new coronavirus variant. So instead, they will wait for Shang-Chi to land on Disney Plus and then watch it, as even if it means being exposed to spoilers, they would be able to enjoy the film safely. Check out what some fans are saying.
It's not really a boycott, it's just waiting. Like, a boycott tends to mean I'm not watching it, period. Or I'm watching it for free illegally or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Felix Wood, as much as I want to see Shang-Chi, I'm not yet comfortable going to the cinemas, so I'm going to wait 45 days until it's on Disney Plus. I just know the film is going to get spoiled for me, though.
I don't understand people's hatred of spoilers. It never made sense to me.
I think they contribute that to maybe not being able to truly enjoy the film, like surprises and stuff. Like if you know a character's going to... Okay, because here's the thing. I watched clips and stuff of the Suicide Squad before I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Did not... I still enjoyed it. I did, like... I think I told you this, Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
I almost had... I was tearing up a bit during like the bus scene.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, and again, Dawn can confirm this or not if he wants to. How I gauge a movie on whether or not it's good or not is if it invokes an emotional reaction from me.
Yes, he's mentioned this to me many times.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Pacific Rim, well, no. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Pacific Rim, The Suicide Squad, obviously. I think there were a few others. I can't remember them off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Also, represent Peacemaker. It was like my favorite character in that movie.
I liked Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher too.
Yeah, they were kind of like, and again, he and I had a discussion about this. Like, I know we're going on a tangent here, but you know, Don and I had a brief discussion about this. I think last week, because that's when I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
I said I like Peacemaker just because like he's an interesting character. Like if you like really pay attention to like the subtlety of the character, from like as a a writer, like the perspective of the writing for the character, he's very interesting. Not to say I didn't like any of the other characters, I did. Um, and I think you and I both agreed like Ratcatcher 2, Polka Dot Man, kind of King Shark are like, well, primarily Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher 2 are like the emotional core of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I liked Peacemaker a lot just because like he's so interesting, just from a writing perspective. Like I can understand him, but I don't agree with him. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they really lived up to the whole description of the character with this like douchebag Captain America.
They did.
More so than John Walker, but that's because John Walker is a totally different character than Peacemaker.
Right. Honestly, though, I think the emphasis there goes on douchebag rather than Captain America. Though I will say that John Cena was charming, like he always is. But then again, that guy can make the Fred movies work for him at least. So obviously he's charming.
Yeah. Let's be honest, I didn't think Peacemaker would be your kind of character, Dalton.
Well, you were obviously correct.
Okay, Avery Fryer, viewer. I guess it was true that there won't be premiere access for Shang-Chi on Disney Plus because it's not released on Disney Plus. That's a bummer, especially with COVID spiking again. I guess the ScarJo lawsuit and Feige being upset pushed for theater exclusivity. Daniel Alter, keeping Shang-Chi exclusively theatrical while Delta and other variants spreads would be really unethical by Disney, especially since kids under 12 cannot even be vaccinated. Sean B. I hate to say it, but I might wait for Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings to be released on Disney Plus, if it ever does get released on Disney Plus. Or I'll wait for the Blu-ray release 3 to 5 months later. I don't feel safe going to theaters yet with the variant going around. Fucking morons.
The variants really aren't that important, guys, for one. And for another, I just want to put this once again into perspective. When we complain about actual character related stuff or actual world building related stuff, or pandering or ideology or morality bullshit, we get called toxic fans. But these people can get morally indignant about something that's not even related to the movie, and they're still called fans somehow. It's just it annoys me. Moving on.
Cast Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings with Simi Liu, Aquafina, Mingger Zhang, Fala Chen, Florian Montino, Benedict Wong, Michelle Yeoh, Tony Leung, Ronnie Ching, Dallas Liu, and Jade Zhu. Again, if I said those names wrong, I am so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce names. What's the time?
He's not good at anyone's names, to be honest with you.
Yeah, at all. It's hard because like there are names that are just really spelled weird, and you wouldn't really know how to pronounce them even if you tried to like sound it out. Like I would have to hear the names first to really know how to say it.
Yeah, and then there's the wrinkle of other languages have different pronunciation structures.
Yeah. See, again, that's the thing. Like I'm an American. Okay, I know how to speak English. That's it. I'm sorry.
Not even the Queen's English, just good old fashioned American English.
Goddamn right. But yeah, no, I again, like, if I say that anything's wrong, I'm really sorry.
Moving right along.
Sorry, I was setting things up. Okay. All right. Should be good. I don't know. Did you send this to me or did I send it to you? I can't remember.
I think I sent it.
Yeah. So now we're moving on to trailers. Yeah. Dalton sent me this one. I sent the next one. This is Marvel Studios Eternals, the final trailer, which is weird because it's the only second one.
Yeah, usually there's 3.
Yeah.
But also weird because, and Shang-Chi did this too, but stop releasing trailers before the VFX are done, please. Because it makes the movie look more boring than it ends up looking when the VFX are finished. Like in both the case of Shang-Chi and also this, if the second trailer was the first trailer, 90% of my criticisms for the first trailer would be gone.
Mm-hmm. I have some gripes, but I'll get into those.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we, banana?
We shall banana.
Five years ago, Thanos erased half of the population of the universe. But the people of this planet brought everyone back with the snap of a finger. The sudden return of the population.
Okay, so I have one gripe.
Okay.
It's honestly a nitpick, but it's just because like this is getting like into the super weird cosmic stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and like honestly, even like Thor Ragnarok. Well, okay, maybe not Thor Ragnarok, but like Doctor Strange had this.
Mm-hmm.
The color, like the color, still seems very muted and
Yeah.
desaturated.
Yeah. Again, it's like we've always said in regards to this. You guys know we can do color movies now, right?
Yeah, and like again, if I were to put this like in, if I was to edit this, honestly, I wouldn't need to do like I wouldn't need to cut it or anything. I just put like an adjustment layer over it, which is basically a filter for like people who don't know editing. You know, like it's basically a filter that you just put over a video itself, and like you can swap, turn it off and on to see the difference
Mm-hmm.
for comparison reasons. Um, and just honestly, I just up the saturation a bit, maybe add a little contrast to make like the scenes in space and stuff like the real cosmic shit
Mm-hmm.
pop.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't have to do much. It's just like when I first saw the opening to it, you know, with Ajax or Salma Hayek's character Ajax
Mm-hmm.
writing, and I saw the grass and the sky, and like I get it, it's like cloudy and stuff, but like I just saw like the color in the grass just so desaturated. And again, I don't mind when something's desaturated when it makes sense for the story or the world they're in. Like
the kind of movie you're making.
Yeah, like.
But this is supposed to be weird even by Jack Kirby standards. Level of weird.
Yeah, and it's just like also again, it's a Jack Kirby property.
In a universe where we've already had both Guardians movies and Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, granted, I'd argue the first Guardians movie had less color than the second one. Like
It did, to be fair.
To be honest, that was more of a testing ground for this stuff. So
yeah, it was. But compared to everything that had happened before, Guardians, it was zany as all hell.
yeah.
But that's the other thing, and this has always been my complaint. I would understand if this movie was released before Guardians of the Galaxy, I would understand the kind of holding back. But we've got not one, but two Guardians movies and Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, and
we've already established this universe can get really, really, really weird and really, really, really out there and colorful. So why the muted tones?
Again, you know what? If it was on Earth, like they kept it dull on Earth,
and then like compared or amplified the celestial elements in order to contrast, that would be one thing.
Yeah, but I don't know, like, and there is some contrast, sure, when we see the celestials, and actually, let's get into that,
Banana.
And again, like this could just be me, like it's a nitpick, but I feel like it has to be brought up.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like this trailer is much better than the previous trailer, but in all honesty, this really should be just the first trailer, and then the second trailer should be genuinely zany.
Right. Okay. Shall we?
Yeah.
Banana.
Provided the necessary energy for the emergence to begin.
How long do we have?
7 days.
I don't have anything to say. I like the ticking clock. That's kind of new.
I hope it's an entire horde of Celestials and not just the one we see a little bit later. Because that was my only real complaint as far as the Celestial side of things go. Celestials usually travel in hordes, and also on just a sheer weirdness factor, I'd rather there be a horde instead of just one. Because we've already had a movie with one Celestial in it, and that was Ego in Guardians 2. So
there are more than one in here. You didn't notice?
Isn't it just the red one?
No.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care a lot about this property, and yet I noticed.
Yeah, I didn't notice there being more than one Celestial in here. I only saw the red one, whose name I forget, who's supposed to be like the caller of the guy who calls the Celestials mistakes, basically. Anyway, moving on. Banana.
We're Eternals. We came here 7,000 years ago to protect humans from the deviants.
Why didn't you guys help fight Thanos?
What's weird is this scene actually looks really good, like in terms of color and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the desaturated ones are just towards the beginning of the movie for some reason. Or just the flashback.
Also, we get Dane Whitman, aka the Black Knight. Granted, we're probably not going to see him become the Black Knight. in this movie, but at least he's set up.
And it also hopefully sets up more for Camelot and that side of the MCU eventually.
It's kind of funny because we were talking about this kind of stuff earlier.
Yeah. I still think the Ancient One should be Morgan Le Fay in this universe because she's Celtic and she uses dark magic. And Merlin was already a Sorcerer Supreme in the comics, so it kind of makes sense that she would take over for him afterwards.
Yeah. Okay, Joe?
Banana.
Banana.
Or any war, all the other terrible things throughout history.
We were instructed not to interfere in any human conflicts unless deviants are involved.
By who?
Okay, now, a lot of people, and I've seen in the comments on this, make fun of the "why didn't you stop Thanos?" We were instructed not to interfere by who
But my big
thing.
issue was in the first trailer is it wasn't addressed.
Yeah, my big gripe, because I actually know about the lore of this particular property and the weirder side of the MCU or the Marvel Universe in general, but we were instructed not to interfere unless deviants were involved excuse doesn't work here, my darling, because Thanos, at least in the comics, and again, it might be different in this universe because different universe and yada yada yada. But I laughed hysterically when I heard that line because in the comics, Thanos is a deviant. So, assuming that Thanos is a deviant in the MCU for like half a second, you done fucked up there, didn't you, my love? A deviant almost destroyed half the life in the universe, and you did jack diddly squat. Moving on.
I didn't want to bring this up, but there was a stupid thing because I was watching some trailers,
Mm-hmm.
like watching some reactions to the trailer, just because I was curious to see other people's reactions to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some like real people who don't know this shit, which is understandable because it's kind of an obscure property
Mm-hmm.
to at least the general audience.
Mm-hmm.
But one motherfucker called the Celestial Galactus. And like said, that's how they get people interested about this movie.
I want to bash my head repeatedly into something hard.
Like a part of me could get at least the first part because again, general audience member doesn't know much about this property and stuff. But to insinuate that last part is kind of really fucking insulting.
And now you know what it's like to be in my head all the time. Because people will just arbitrarily dismiss obscure properties because they're obscure. And it never occurs to them that at one point Iron Man was obscure.
Hey.
Fact.
I
what?
have obscure properties that are fucking looked over a lot.
I know, but it's kind of my specialty, is what I was saying. And so every time a vaguely obscure character gets put into things, it's like, why are you? It's like I want to slap people or shake them or beat them over the head with a brick. Sometimes it's just after the first time you hear it, it's like, it's not that bad. It's just kind of annoying. But after about the 1,000th time you've heard it in a row for like the 5th property in a row, it's like, will you people just give things a chance for 5 seconds? Because you might find that just because something is obscure doesn't mean it necessarily deserves to be.
I mean, granted, that was from that YouTube channel called The Normies, so...
Well, I guess I can't dig them for false advertising. That's just sad. They don't... Like, it's not even sad because they don't know what the Celestial is. It's sad because they don't know what Galactus is supposed to look like.
I think they only saw the movies.
Maybe. But, like, for all the times Galactus has been in, like, cartoons and things, or parodied by, like,
Dude,
the Fairly Odd Parents and stuff, you'd think they would have some understanding of
called the
what
Normies.
Galactus looks like.
They're called the Normies.
I know, but are we really... No one is that normie, surely.
Dude, 3
Except for
years
people-
ago, they watched Avatar: The Last Airbender for the first time. Like, they did a whole series about it.
Oh my god, they're really that
Well, they are
behind the time?
like a lot older than us, I think. So
Okay, so maybe...
no,
like,
maybe not a lot older, but older than us, I think. Like in their 30s or something.
okay. So maybe this was before Galactus was common in things, but, like, it's
Anyway, like that's not supposed to throw shade at normies. I don't like them just because, like, well, they're normies and they don't know stupid shit. They don't know simplest shit, or just they're kind
the
of
most obvious thing of, like, even if what you're saying made sense, you should know that Galactus doesn't look like that. And you should know the MCU tries to veer in favor of what things look like in the comics whenever they can.
Anyway, that's besides the point. That was a whole tangent.
Yep. Banana.
I have an issue with a lot of reactors, mainly because most of them are fucking normies who don't know shit.
Yeah. It gets really, really infuriating when you have to listen to someone wax lyrical about something they don't know shit about, and they don't know shit about. They still are, like, that's the thing that gets me. It's the not knowing something, fine, but to not know about something and therefore to assume that you don't need to know or that you shouldn't want to know, and that you get to be dismissive and snarky about shit.
No, it's
That
not,
bothers
it's
me.
not they would it's not. I don't think it's dismissive. Like, there are some people who do that. I think it's just because, again, they don't know a lot. Because, well, let's be honest, the people who do those reaction channels probably had a lot more normal lives than guys like you and me had.
Well, I mean, that's their loss, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, back to
Banana. Yes.
yeah.
We need to find the others.
I haven't seen some of them for centuries.
Hi.
Hello.
This is what the end of the world looks like. At least we have front row seats.
You know what's never saved the planet? Your sarcasm.
I got nothing.
That was a very, very bad joke.
I feel like there's more context to it, and it's just cut out of.
Yeah, which is why, honestly, I prefer if the trailers were mostly serious for stuff like this. Like, I don't mind the humor, but
Like, honestly, if you took this part out and just kept, like, the scene at the end, it might work better.
but it's kind of like how in the Doctor Strange trailer with the Wi-Fi password being Shambhala. It's just like, number one, I'm kind of not sure I like the idea of Doctor Strange having Wi-Fi while he trains. And number two, it's just like, why?
Don't let it go. Let it go.
No. Moving on.
Banana.
We've loved these people since the day we arrived. When you love something, you protect it.
again, you kind of did a bang-up job with that one, love. I mean, what, at least in its original universe, was a deviant destroyed the universe, and you did nothing.
Moving on?
Yep, banana.
No.
You can't protect any of them.
Oh shit, I totally went. I kind of went for 40 seconds instead of 20. That's not bad.
Oh, well, if this gets taken down, we'll know why.
Yeah. I got none. Like it's interesting. Like there are some interesting shots and visuals, but I got nothing really comment on. To be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like if there was a little more color and stuff, maybe add a little contrast to the film.
Yeah, I hope the deviants are just like the secondary bads, and the Celestials have a bigger role in things. Because, like, I get why an Eternals movie would feature the deviants as the big bad, but I'm just sick of waiting for Celestials to be a thing now. Considering they should have already been a thing, because Ego was the main villain in Guardians 2, but never mind.
You done?
For now. Banana.
No.
Any of them.
I bet you've built the perfect safe house. And what's this even made of? Vibranium?
Banana.
Fall collection. IKEA.
Yeah, again, if you take out the joke in the middle and just it works.
Mm-hmm. Though I'm having to deal with a mental image in my head of an Eternal trying to shop at IKEA. It's just, unless it was the infinite IKEA from the SCP universe.
My God, Dawn! Not everything has to be fucking weird, okay? People can do regular shit.
Actually, that's my headcanon now. He shops in the infinite IKEA.
My God, man. We're such a picky bitch sometimes.
You're goddamn right.
That wasn't a compliment.
Don't care. Choosing to take it is one.
Ugh. The IKEA thing, like, it makes sense to me because, like, I believe it's that character who has a regular life. Like, he has a family, like kids and stuff. Like, kind of chose to live as a human, effectively.
Okay, but that's a little better then. Still think it's funnier if he shops in the infinite IKEA from the SCP universe.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. Fuck that. I know about that one. I ain't going in there.
Well, neither am I, but neither one of us is eternal, to be fair.
Oh, if I'm going in there, I'm getting a fucking rocket launcher and a lot of bullets.
Bazooka versus the like infinite IKEA things.
Either that or I climb the fuck up high. That's the thing. I can't climb.
Really?
Fear of falling, remember?
Ah.
But also, yeah, I don't have upper body strength that much. I could barely do rock climbing.
I think you might be underselling yourself. If you can do
No,
rock climbing, then you're
Dude,
okay.
no, I said I couldn't. I'm not underselling myself, Don, okay? I think you have a really skewed perception of me. I am not an athlete. I'm a real fucking shut-in nerd. And if I'm in this, let's be honest, I think both of us, you might have a little better time. But me in the SCP universe, I'm fucked.
You never know. You might be one of those guys who joins what is it? Gamers Against Weed, the reality bending people.
Probably not. Dude, I'm a regular dude. And one, I also have too good of a moral compass, so I could not betray my morals to serve the SCP Foundation. Or the
I
Chaos
probably
Agency, or the Global Occult Coalition, or whatever the fuck else.
I'd probably end up joining the Serpent's Hand at first. And then maybe get a job for Marshall Carter and Dark.
Yeah,
Possibly Prometheus Labs too.
I'm
For
good.
me.
Most, again, the SCP universe is just fucking dark and fucked.
My only problem with it is the amnestics. If weird shit like that happens, I want to remember. Fuck your amnestics.
I mainly just don't want to fucking die. At least die to those things. Like, I don't want to die to those things because most of the time death is fucking painful and terrifying in the SCP universe.
Yeah. Although, I mean, there are ones that could kill you more benevolently.
You can count them all on one hand.
This is true.
Yeah. I'd rather
Honestly, that's one of my problems with the SCP universe. Although they appear to kind of be fixing it more recently, is there's not enough of those like more whimsical SCPs.
Yeah, I prefer not to get eaten by a giant fucking lizard.
Yeah, fuck 682.
Anyway. This is Star Wars Visions, English dub trailer, Disney Plus. I sent this one, I believe. Yeah. We're very excited about this. I've seen other people talk about this. They're cautious or they don't care because they've been burned by pretty much everything else.
Yeah.
It's weird how we're actually able to at least keep some hope with this. Granted, it's not being handled by really any Western creators, so.
Yeah. I'm not really like I'm not excited for this one way or the other. This was Brainstormer's thing, so I'm just gonna let him take the lead on this one.
Okay, that's surprising. Shall we?
Banana.
Banana.
Long ago, a great warrior came to this village and entrusted our ancestors with this. Its power and responsibility now lie with you.
Shit. I'm gonna have to jump out and jump back in because my screen froze again. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I can see things again. There's
Hey, could you start talking again? You sound a little robotic when you came in.
okay. This is better.
Yeah.
All right.
Joey?
Better enough. Mm-hmm.
Banana.
Guided since you were born. Since you were born.
At the moment arrives. The moment arrives.
I'm just enthralled, to be honest.
I mean, it's visually interesting.
Are you such a cynical jackass that you can't just enjoy something anymore?
I just don't have any background in this. I agreed to it because you suggested it. Kind of was the thing.
We watched a trailer for it not too long ago.
I don't remember.
Star Wars Visions. How the? Okay, I'm not even. Okay, shall we?
Yep. Better enough.
It's the first time I've confronted such darkness. Something ancient and sinister.
I'll be honest, it's probably the only thing that interests me in Disney Plus. Shut the fuck up.
Okay.
I mean, you can say something, just.
I mean, it looks better than everything else that Disney has done since obtaining the Star Wars license.
It's not really
So
saying
that
so.
it's a very, very low bar that has been cleared, but it has been cleared. So yeah.
This is what I hate about like everyone that talks about this. Is like they're so dejected that they can't actually see how cool this really is.
I mean, hopefully it'll be good enough to justify it when it does
Okay,
come out.
motherfucker. It's made by Japanese studios who have made award-winning anime and stories. It's not made by any fucking Western creators who try to push an agenda constantly. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's actually love and attention because, like, again, we watched a trailer where the creators talked about it. I don't know how the fuck you forgot it. I'm sorry if I'm being kind of an asshole. It's just like.
Do you remember what number it was or around?
It wasn't really that long ago at all.
Okay, so I'm drawing a blank for some reason then.
But like, on this versus, this seems like something that'll actually be good in terms of Star Wars content.
Yeah.
Okay. if you say that's not a high bar to cross anymore, I swear to God, I understand that, but still, this seems like something made out of pure love for the franchise by the creators.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
With any luck, the people behind this will get control of Disney, and then they'll stop fucking it up.
I doubt that because, again, Japanese creators, they were more or less just hired on.
Well, true, but if this does gangbusters, like something equivalent to the fan base for The Mandalorian, then maybe once Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni take over and Kathleen Kennedy is out on her ass, they'll get some people from here to do writing. And then Star Wars will be Star Wars again.
Okay, shall we?
Yep. Banana.
We are going to be a proper family.
Let's make this our best show ever.
Yep. Got nothing to say. Granted, this is an anthology, so I wasn't really expecting much.
Story.
Yeah.
Because by definition, there are lots of different stories.
Gee, it's like I said the word anthology. I'm being a real asshole this day. I don't know what the fuck is up with that.
Eh.
Huh.
We all have those days. I think I'm most interested in the one that had some sort of artifact passed down for a family line so far.
It was a lightsaber.
Okay, because at that point I couldn't see what was going on screen because my screen had frozen.
Yeah, apparently a Jedi came to their place and they were sworn to protect that Jedi's lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of cool concept, actually. How do you think about it?
Yeah, hopefully the kid who it's being passed on to will become one eventually.
Shall we?
Yep, banana.
Banana.
I accept this responsibility.
Yep, no, someone's reek. Shall we?
Yep, banana.
Ability.
Was there a release date at the end of that? I didn't quite see.
September 22nd.
Okay, so about a month.
Yep. Yeah, I got it. Like I said, like it might be the one thing that actually makes me consider getting Disney Plus again.
I don't know. I don't know Disney Plus's policy of sharing passwords, or else I just let you use mine.
I appreciate the thought, but I'm good.
And I think Disney might be more authoritarian about it than Netflix is, so that might not be a good idea anyway.
But yeah, I'm very much intrigued. I just like it's an anthology, so if like one isn't as good, I doubt anyone's going to be bad. I'm sure there will be better ones comparatively, but
Mm-hmm.
more or less they'll probably all like this is probably like the new Twilight thing for this generation, but it's probably going to have each one's probably going to be better than the sequel trilogy.
Although, again, very, very low bar.
I don't know. Well, we'll see. Maybe we might do a review of the series. Maybe I don't know.
Mm.
That all just depends. Other than that, don't really have anything to say. Dom.
Nope. It looks interesting. I wish there was a little bit more context, but definitely looks like the best thing that Disney has made since getting the Star Wars license. Except for maybe season 5 of Clone Wars, because Clone
Season
Wars was good.
Season 7, not 5.
Or yeah, 7 of Clone Wars.
Anyway, with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, avideze, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
Fuck all the way off.